everybody. My name is Baya Goodman. I do work at Blank Rome, but we are transitioning over to Greenbrook Tower shortly, so kind of a little bit of an in-between mode. We are going to welcome 3 speakers for the Underlying Platforms Driving Healthcare Industry session. Our first is Sonia Carlson. She is from the Health Solutions Group over at Microsoft. Our second, Sonia, come on up. Our second speaker is from CCG International, Louis Ocharan, and our third speaker will be Steve Payment from IBM. Here? Or you can just come right up.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for inviting me here today. It's great to have the opportunity to have a chance to speak with a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are very much associated with the healthcare space. A little bit about my background. My original training is in computer engineering, molecular biology, and drug metabolism. I spent the early years of my career as an entrepreneur in drug interaction databases working with pharma. And Seattle being kind of the hotbed of biotechnology that it is, I, of course, naturally drifted into biotech and later on, as part of an acquisition, worked for almost the last 10 years in a large pharmaceutical company as a program manager for genetics at Merck. In joining the Microsoft Health Solutions Group, I think it's really a chance to really have an impact on the overall ecosystem and the vertical space and the horizontal space that we all know to exist in healthcare today. Inside a software company, you often get the question of, well, healthcare is a vertical. Why is Microsoft there? Well, I think, as most of you probably know, it's really not very vertical. It's very heterogeneous, very fragmented, multiple data types, multiple roles, multiple players, multiple workflows. And as we move forward, and as we try to innovate as a company and as a community and as a country, I think we have to recognize that the only way to really make progress in this area is to take a platform approach and to work towards integrating all of these different kinds of functionalities in a platform type of way. And at Microsoft, that has always been sort of the mandate. We are a platform company, fundamentally. And as we've publicly acknowledged, we are making our next big bets in healthcare and education. So that's kind of where we are, where I am and how I fit into this story. So I can talk a little bit more specifically about the Health Solutions Group, what we're doing, and some of you may be familiar with our products that are out there. But just to give you a quick overview, in the Health Solutions Group, we operate in kind of 3 major areas that you can think about. The first is really sort of the patient-centric world. Some of you may be familiar with our new Health Vault platform, which was launched in last October. And what that really is, it's a free web-based platform focused on patient-centric health and wellness management. So a consumer can store all of their kind of adjunct medical information, perhaps fitness information, diet information, and they can share it with their other family members, with their physician, with their personal trainer. There's also an element of very broad device connectivity. So for example, if you're a diabetic and you're measuring your blood glucose every day, you can store your blood glucose readings and trend them over time and share them out with your physician or your trainer as needed. And the underpinning philosophy there is really about the consumer being in control of their data and having complete say in where their information goes, who they share it with, and how it's used. And as a company, we've been working very hard with a lot of the policy and privacy experts out there, and have been working very hard pushing towards overall legislation to protect consumer privacy. And I think if you if you are aware of that space and kind of do some of the reading on what we're doing, I think Microsoft has really sort of put a stake in the ground and set the bar as to how this can be done and how this can be accomplished in a secure and private way. So the other area where we have an effort is in the back-end hospital health information systems, and that's with our Amalga product. And what the Amalga product does is it also takes a patient-centric view, but within a clinical setting, within a hospital setting. So in some of the older systems, in order to get towards patient-centric information, you might have to request a DBA to access diagnostic information based on billing codes or laboratory codes, which is really not a very effective way to get at the information that a physician needs in order to have a complete picture of the patient who's in their office today. So to that end, we've developed a very interesting parsing technology to amalgamate, hence the name Amalga, which we go back and forth about whether that's an easy and useful name or not, but it tends to make people think about their dental fillings. Oh, please don't tell the marketing group I said that. But in any case, so it's a very flexible, on-the-fly way for a physician to drill down into a patient-centric view and to amalgamate multiple data types. So you can have not only just a patient history record, but live images, video, all sorts of labs, and other relevant information, all associated with the patient right away on the fly. So those kind of two pieces are sort of critical for allowing the patient to be in charge of their information and to know what's happening with them. And if you think towards the future, understanding that many people have the goal of ultimately enabling a full-blown sort of translational medicine system, and you have to think about kind of what would be the underlying platform that would allow you to do that. So then you kind of move into the challenges in the life science research space, and you have to think about how do you support new types of research with new types of modalities. How do you deal with the volume and size of this kind of data that's coming through in life science research? If you think about DNA sequencing runs that generate terabytes of data in one run, and how do you apply the tools to be able to look at that data? You can't be moving terabytes of data around. So you have to think about ways of how you can bring the compute service to the data. And that sort of folds into our larger company philosophy of looking at software as a service and how we can apply that to healthcare. So when you start thinking about integrating all of the molecular signature data types that are up and coming with many of the new diagnostics that are on board, you can begin to see the connection of how having this underlying technology of a flexible engine and tools to persist data, to compute against data in very large data sets, and just enabling better data management overall. And we recognize the fact that everything in healthcare is really multidisciplinary. You can no longer be sort of just a biologist or just a computer scientist. For the last 10 or 15 years, as many of you know, biologists have been scripting their own algorithms and building their own tools in order to perform some of these functions. And what we as a company and as a platform we would like to do is to really remove the need for many of these healthcare workers and life science researchers to have to perform those kinds of duties